welcome to the Ready Podcast. Today with me we have Rob, Diane, and myself, I'm Elia. Today we're going to continue on the last topic, what we talked about, how to become a teacher in Japan. But today we're going to dive a little deeper into the topic. So relations with other teachers and how to, integrate into the culture as a teacher, or an ALT, which they're called, which we'll go into very soon. So first of all, as we talked about last time, we were all elementary school teachers. So we taught from first grade to sixth grade mostly. Sometimes you had some schools who had younger kids, but that's not very often. Maybe you taught them like once a year, so it's okay. And you teach them about colors, which is very easy. So don't worry about that. So first thing, ALT. What's an ALT? I think Rob, go ahead, sir.
I do know what that is, for I was one. An ALT stands for Assistant Language Teacher. And your job is to essentially, for the most part, be a tape recorder in the classroom. There are two teachers, usually, Teacher 1 and Teacher 2. You are supposed to be Teacher 2 when you're in their class teaching English with them. Usually the teacher will go over all the grammar and vocabulary, and then they look towards the native English speaking foreigner and they say, please repeat that, and then we use the correct pronunciation and the students copy us. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, to clarify, Teacher 1 is usually their homeroom teacher, the Japanese teacher.
Yes.
While you're the second teacher, you're just the ALT.
It's supposed to be, it's in the name, assistant. We're supposed to be assistant.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're the assistant teacher, essentially.
Yes. So don't I think a lot of people that go to Japan and want this teaching job, they might come from a teacher background, or you might have a degree in teaching or something. You're basically not a real teacher. I don't want to make you sad if you're looking forward to it, but you're basically the second teacher. But nowadays, in the countryside where we all used to teach, we were the main teachers. So we were basically teaching all the lessons by ourselves, except for Rob and I had a teacher where we were the ALT. We were the tape recorder. You stand there and she tells you to say apple and you say apple. She tells you to say another word and you just say it. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time. We'll get into that soon because we're going to talk about lesson prep. So let's start from the beginning. When you're doing your training, right, they tell you that you're supposed to lesson prep, and they give you all these websites, like the company websites that you go into, and you take the lessons from there and you prepare lessons, and they give you some help on how to prepare lessons. It's fun to prepare lessons, but it's very stressful because every class is different and you have so many classes. So everyone will react differently even to the same lesson, right? So Diane, your lesson prep, did you do everything yourself or did you use the company website mostly?
I mostly did everything myself. I actually don't think I've ever been a teacher 2 in any of my classes. I had one very nice partner, like the English translator of the school. Usually there's like only one or none.
Yeah.
But
Mostly none.
Yeah. We worked together. She had the ideas, but she told me what she wanted to do, but I had to think of what to do, like the game or activity or something. I just Googled or something myself, or just thought of ideas that I could use to keep the students interested. Because if you're only doing this, repeat after me, red, blue, yellow, then they're gonna lose interest so fast.
It's gonna get boring quickly.
Yeah, these are very young kids with short attention spans. As kids lack, they lack of an attention span. So
I'm an adult and I lack attention span. Just being honest.
Especially these days when everything is just kind of like blasted in front of our eyes 24/7. People are used to going quick, going to the next thing. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But we all were provided textbooks for each class. I think mainly 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders each had 2 books, and some of our schools had like a screen, a TV, a screen thing, where electronic screen where there's a CD that's part of the book, and then you follow along, have the whole class open the textbook, and you follow along with it on the colors, or the older the class, I don't know, learn about countries, patterns, shapes,
directions, all kinds of stuff.
And in that book, for the most part, the students write in them. Sometimes it's a matching thing. Sometimes it's just simple A, B, or C. Which one's the right answer? What did you hear? What did you circle the ones that you... I really can't remember everything, but they're sometimes the same thing, sometimes not. And then they had cards in the back of each book that you can cut, and they can play like matching games with each other or trading something. Yeah, I did use the book about all the time. If it was something I just really didn't like, then I will just do a 1-page, the first, like the easiest one, and then skip to the activity that I thought of, which game. This is like the fly swatter game. I don't know if you remember this, but I would bring 2 giant fly swatters to the classes sometimes when I feel like doing it, and you say, like, whatever theme topic it is, you say one vocabulary word, and they have to try to hit it as fast as they can. Of course, sometimes they're very violent and then they like knock it off of the board, but you know, the Japanese teacher is supposed to help with that stuff, like discipline and stuff.
As an English teacher in an ALT, you're never supposed to discipline the children in any way. Doesn't matter how rowdy they're being, doesn't matter what they're telling you or saying. That's not your job. Your job is to teach. The homeroom teacher is supposed to keep everyone in line, make sure they're listening, make sure they're studying. It doesn't always happen. I'm just going to be honest. Most of the time, they're at the back of the class grading papers or looking through whatever material they have for their next class. And they're like, good luck. And you're like, okay. So this is where the language barrier comes in place, right? When they're being rowdy or whatever. I didn't have that problem that much. I think I looked quite intimidating to the children. So they were never really, you know, that loud. There was one kid, but we'll forget about him. But mostly it was fun. Like, you play games with the children. You have these awesome lessons, which Diane talked about, you know, these fun games. But mostly the lesson prep is up to you to figure out. So it's basically a race between you and the time. So I always had this big clock at the far end of one of my classrooms, right? And it was just so intimidating to look at all the time, because whenever you did a game or whatever, you have to keep your eye on the time so that you make sure you're covering every aspect of the class. For me, I never used the book, which is opposite of what Diane did. I just did my own thing. They told me you have to teach this chapter, and I just take stuff out and I make my own stuff from it. I thought that was a lot easier, and the children, like my students, the ones I had, didn't care about the book. Like, some of them didn't even bring it, you know? So it was good to always have a backup plan of stuff to do.
Yeah, I did mostly follow the book, but there were some days where I could barely do 1 page because it was just, the content was so bad, or I knew it wasn't going to work. But some of the teachers are so strict with the book. They're like, we have to do this, we have to do this. And I was like, what are you doing? I didn't say that, but but what do you mean there's nothing to do here?
I'd like to touch upon that as well.
Board.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, with the school board, with certain schools, I was a mix between the book and my own ideas. In the very beginning, I was looking through the book, and keep in mind, these books are made in Japan, and they're made by Japanese people from an older generation who probably don't speak English. So a lot of the English in these books, unfortunately, is not correct.
Yes.
or not used very often. It's not normal
Yeah.
English like at Ready. That's what we try to
Expired-
show them.
expired
Exactly.
English.
Not even expired, just like it doesn't make sense. But anyway, what I really want to say is that because of these problems, I kind of took those lessons and I fixed them and made my own activities for them. And I stayed away from using their CD and the smart board, right? Usually you'd have like, you know, a touch screen where you can like do the activity on the board, and the students really like the technology and all that stuff, and that's great. But I was just like, if you were lucky. But I was like, it's wrong though. So I didn't use it as much, and I used my activities. Unlike Elia here, I did get in trouble.
I never got in trouble for it.
The schools called my company called me, and they said, hey, you have to stick with the book. You're going too far off script. Thank you for being creative. They're not going to want you to come back if you keep doing it. And I was like, wow. And this is something that something you might have to deal with if you come here. They will not approach you directly if they have a problem. They're going to talk to your boss. And then they're gonna tell on you, and then you're gonna go back to that school, and maybe you'll feel like a little betrayed a little bit because you think you're on good terms, and then you realize, oh, they actually hate what I do. So my recommendation is kind of feel out the school a little bit, see how strict they are, ask for permission, maybe go through your company and be like, can you check for me if this is okay? You could chance it like Elia and I did. And, you know, you might have success and you might not. We're both opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to that. So
yeah.
just be aware of it, is what I'm saying.
Just a side note on that. So I never used the book, as I said. So I made all my own material. And I think that's because when I talked to the teachers beforehand, I was like, I'm doing this, bum, 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 bum. Like I always told them what I'm doing to keep them involved, what I'm doing before class. Another side note, this is a sixth side note. These teachers don't speak English, like very, very little English. So it's purely, I do this. Like don't go very deep into the English language unless you can speak Japanese. I have the upper hand where I could, you know, at that time I was okay at Japanese. So I could, you know, navigate myself through lessons with a teacher if I needed to. Some teachers want to be included in the lessons and some teachers don't want to. So, you know, talk to the teacher beforehand, say, hey, are you comfortable doing this? Because sometimes you need a partner, you know, you need someone to, you know, talk to, whatever. Some people use the puppet method where they have a puppet. I don't do that. But this is silly for me, so I would never do that. But, so I would use the teacher. I'd be like, hey, whatever sensei, could you please help me up? And they would come and they would do it. Some teachers like, nope. So, you know, look into that before you do anything. When it comes to lesson prep, so I prepared all my lessons except for one school where we had this teacher. She prepared everything, and when I went to the school, she's like, today we're doing this, and she went through the school, all the lessons with me. Rob had that same teacher in another school.
Yes.
She was pretty good at English. She was okay at English, if I'm gonna be honest. She wasn't bad, she wasn't good. She didn't like to be corrected, let's just say it like that. And Rob tried a couple times and it bit him in the butt. So please check out I never did that. I was like, you do you. You know, if you want to say incorrectly, that's up to you. I did correct her once, but then she asked me if it was correct, and I was like, nope, it's not. For example, she was holding up a page, and she, instead of saying flip it onto the other side, she said, now we go upside down or something in that
Yeah,
regard.
she said, now upside down. And it's like,
Now upside down.
Yeah.
And I was like, and she could see on my face that I was like, that's not correct. And she asked me, and I told her, no, that's not how you say it. So we had very different interactions with this teacher, Rob and I.
the last thing I wanted to mention is that it depends what company you work for, but and the one that Diane, Elia, myself worked for, they were not super organized with scheduling. And what I mean by scheduling is what classes you are going to be teaching throughout the day. Ahead of time, they're supposed to send you a document that shows you what lesson you're supposed to teach in each class. And as you just heard, we were responsible for instructing a lot of these lessons since we took the teacher one role, especially here out in the countryside. Now, this company would sometimes send us our schedules in the same morning that we would be teaching these lessons. I remember waking up, looking for my email, not getting it, getting dressed and ready, looking at my email, still not receiving it, driving my 30-minute drive to work through the countryside, which is great, but then arriving, checking my email, still not seeing anything, sitting down in the staff room and going to the head teacher being like, you know, they're approaching me saying, "Are you ready?" And I'd be like, "No, I have no idea what I'm doing." And they would say, "We sent the schedule to the company. What's going on?" And sometimes there's nothing you can do about it except wait or find out last minute and improvise and go on the fly. And, you know, best of luck to you. It happens, and you just kind of have to roll with the punches and deal with it. That's a whole nother part of... It could be considered a struggle. It could be a blessing in disguise because, you know, maybe you'll have more something more free to do that day, or the teacher might have a different idea or something. So it's not always a bad thing, but it can be stressful if you're a very like strict, straight to the rules kind of person, you know?
Yeah.
So just be aware
that the school has sent the schedule like months ahead of time to the company.
Yes.
So this is a company issue and not the Japanese school issue.
Right.
So if you are feeling like I'm not getting these emails in time, what I did, I went to my teachers like, "Hey, can I have the list for the whole year?" And I did that for all my schools because I couldn't wait for them to randomly send me an email. And most of my schools had my email, and they would send me emails in case there were last minute changes. Like there was an event at school, "Hey, you don't have to teach this class." Good for me, right? And there was stuff like that. So yeah, talk to your schools. Mostly your schools are very helpful. Like these are teachers, these are human beings. You don't have to be afraid of them. It's okay. Just talk to them.
These people work crazy overtime hours. They're very detail oriented. They have your stuff ready for you.
So one time, there were two girls, maybe 5th or 6th graders. They wrote me a note. They wrote me a letter, one each, and I thought it was really nice. They tried to write. I think it was in English. I can't remember. And I usually like to give back, you know. And so I wrote them notes back, and I think I added in maybe a stickers or a keychain or something like that, something really small. And I was really happy to give it to them. They were super happy too. And then like the next week or the next few days, I get a call from the company saying, yeah, as teachers, you're not supposed to do that, because if you give 1 or 2 students something, then you have to give everyone something. I'm like, oh really? I didn't know. I just wanted to give back. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, and I thought it was cool because I was cool with school. So again, what Rob said, sometimes you think you're cool, but they do, go behind and talk to the company, and then sometimes you get in trouble, and you do feel like a little bit betrayed, ish.
Yeah, I can feel you on that. That never happened to me, but like I never gave anyone anything anyway, so like in that regard, that wasn't an issue for me. The thing is, most Japanese teachers really they take their homeroom class very, very seriously, right? And they don't want one kid to get left out or whatever, because they have this really inclusive, they have to be really inclusive, and that's great. I think that's a very good thing. Teachers showing their students that they care about them is great. I think that's everyone should do that, right?
I thought it was normal because growing up, I've received personal presents from teachers as well, especially as a child.
Yeah.
And it was perfectly normal. It was perfectly fine. And so I was like, oh, I didn't know that.
Don't give anyone anything.
There is no favoritism whatsoever. None. No. Not even off to the side in private or anything like that. You'd get in a lot of trouble here in Japan.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
So please be careful with that. And the only time you're supposed to give anyone anything in a school are the teachers if you tell them you're going away on a holiday. So there's something called omiyage in Japanese. It's basically a present. So for example, let's say there's a week off, school is like they have some, I don't know, some holiday or whatever, right? Let's say you tell them, oh, I'm going to Hiroshima, for example, right? You go there, you grab whatever sweets are local to the area, you bring it back to the school, and you give every single teacher the snack, right? So don't give like one or two. No, even if you do it in private, they'll be like, ooh, that's not their culture. I know you're trying maybe to be respectful to that teacher. Maybe you're like, oh, I like you extra. No, don't just give everyone something. And if you want to give a teacher something extra, do it after you've given them all that one present, right? Because they'll be like, no, now you're favoring me, and they feel like out of place. And think about the Japanese culture and that they're very, very passive as their culture. So yeah, be respectful of that. One thing I do want to add as well, just a short note, you're not supposed to use Japanese in front of the students whatsoever, right? Even at the company tells you during your orientation, during your training, they tell you don't speak Japanese. Even if you know that one word, arigato or whatever, don't use it. Because they want you to live in this bubble where foreigners don't speak Japanese and they only speak English. So don't break the kids' bubble. Personally, I don't agree. Because I use Japanese in all my classes. Sometimes, they don't understand something, and it's really easy just to say the word in Japanese and be like, oh, then they get it, right? So I use Japanese from time to time, especially with the teachers, and they all knew I could speak Japanese, so there wasn't any issue there. So, you do what you want to do. It's up to you at the end of the
I
day.
think the only very time that is super okay or expected is itadakimasu.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, that's what you say before you eat in Japan, right? Before you have a meal. And all the students and the teachers say at the same time before they start eating, right?
Yeah, they all wait for you. You're like, and before eating and after eating.
Yes.
Saying, "Gochusou-sama deshita."
Yep. And please say it, even if you don't know the words, just move your mouth.
Just
It's just
mouth
just do
the words.
something because you're supposed to do it, and it's a culture thing, and they will wait for you. If you don't say it, some students will be like, he didn't say it. So
Yeah.
So just be careful. Yeah. You won't no one will shout at you or be angry at you, but it's just
Speak
the
for
students will be
yourself. No, I'm kidding. I never got yelled at for it, but I always said it. So
no. Yeah, that's nice. All right. Also, next step. Some students get super attached to you for whatever reason, right? You're the foreigner in the class. You're the funny guy because all you do is play games. That's all I did in my classes. I rarely taught anything. There were words, of course. There was a meaning to my games. There were words or something. I was teaching them something, but it was mostly through games or through some fun activity. And these students, that's the only time they have fun in the school, in lessons, right? Because most of their lessons are very strict, and Japanese schools are very methodical. You're not supposed to be laughing in a Japanese classroom, right? You're supposed to be learning. And when they go to your English class, or when you go to them, we'll talk about that later, you're the funny guy or the girl, right? And they really like it, and some of them get really attached to you, and they're like, oh, Elia sensei, he's fun. I want to go to the English class, but not to learn. They want to go have fun. So some get really attached, and some students don't care that you exist. So don't try to be friends with all the students. Some students don't really care. They're like, oh, okay, English class. I guess I'll just chill in the back for 45, 50 minutes and then I'll go back, Some people, they straight up tell you, I don't like English. Okay, cool. I don't like English sometimes as well. I feel it. It's fine. So it's okay.
I've had one little girl that was so attached to me. I didn't even do anything special to her, but during the recess time, she would pull me aggressively. I would like get scratched my elbow. She pulled my shirt, pulled my hair really hard, and she would scream and push away all the other students. And I had talked to like the English translator teacher person that was there, and I'm like, I need help. It's been going on for weeks. I don't know what's going on. And then I was told that she doesn't really get to see her dad often. I think at home maybe she just didn't get a lot of attention, and maybe she was also a little, she never looked happy at school, and she would scream kind of often. One time her parents came and they were crying too, or she, at least the mom was. But after being talked to or disciplined, I think someone talked to her, the principal, little girl stopped being aggressive with me. She was super obsessed, but she didn't even try with the English class, so I don't know, I was really confused.
Maybe she just wanted that, parental attention, I guess. Most students see their teachers as, a parent figure, or so that's another thing I wanted to bring up. So please, be mindful of what you say in front of the students, what you do in front of the students, because they are impressionable, right? It's whatever you do, they'll copy. And sometimes I used to do silly faces and silly voices, and they would do exactly the same thing. So remember that these are kids, right? They do everything you do. If you get angry, they'll get angry. If you get sad, they'll get sad. If you're happy, they'll be happy. That's why the company tells you to be this happy clown, when you go into the classroom. It's not because they want you to like, oh, look at the English guy, he's funny, right? No, it's not that. It's more like, bring up the tempo, have some fun in your class, because it makes them have fun. And maybe that's the only fun they have during the day. You don't know, right? It's the same thing with the meals in Japanese schools. They only have one meal that's really good a day sometimes. So, you're a figure for them.
In Japan, school is very stressful for students. The elementary school years are the easier years of their education, where they have that moment to play and learn and be happy while doing it, right? Because they're not bogged down by test after test after test. So I do think it's part of that, like, go to these schools and be happy, because like Elia said, you are going to be mimicked. They're going to be learning English. They want to learn it in a positive way, or you don't, it's not necessarily about being a clown, but I do think it's more so for the students in a way, because if you show up miserable, then they're going to have your class and they're going to feel miserable, and then they're going to continue just being miserable when they learn English later in high school, when it's stressful for them already. So I don't know, I do think it's like a combination of things.
On to a different subject is, let's compare a little, Japanese and whatever country we're from, the schools there, right? I know, Rob, you want to take up the homebrew stuff, so if you want to start with that.
Oh, okay, sure. So in America, or at least in the schools that I've been in, whether it be elementary, middle school, or high school, you travel between classes. You might have a homeroom that you start your day in, but you have a science room, you have a math room, of course you have gym, you have history. Like, you go to different rooms usually, and you have like maybe that 3 minute between the bell time to get to said room. You have lockers, all this stuff. In Japan, from what I've noticed, usually most of the time they don't have that. They have a homeroom. That's the room that they're in 90% throughout their day. Teachers come to them. They might go to a music room or like a gymnasium for physical education, but usually for all other subjects, they're in one room with the same other students. Yes. Their class does not change. And it's very different from at least American style schools that I know about. So yeah, I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah, so you get a schedule basically where it tells you at 1 o'clock you're going to like just gonna make some stuff up like 4B, right? And then after that you're going to 5B. So you have to move up and down depending on the class you're going to. And instead of having lockers at the back of the class, they have like these
Cubbies.
boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, where they put their stuff and their, clothes and whatever they're doing. This is mostly elementary school, right? I know some high schools might have lockers, but it's not very normal. So they're mostly in that one classroom, and that classroom is like their home. So when you come in, don't mess up stuff. Especially the teacher might, decorate it. Sometimes. A lot of teachers love decorating that room. Like that's their room. That's where they are 99% of the time, right? So yeah, be respectful when you go in. Don't move stuff around unless you're told to, or you can ask beforehand.
Talking about their stuff, all the children or the students had like the same big, chunky backpack. It's hard, and it opens like there's like a big flap, and they have so many of the same things inside. They have to have all of it. I was like, wow, that looks heavy, and they have to. They wear the same, school uniform.
Yes.
They wear a school uniform.
And it's very easy to spot the children from their uniforms. Like, oh, they go to that school, so, and they do that on purpose,
Yeah. Even in this is the one thing too. No matter what the temperature is, what weather, they have to wear the same thing. In the winter, they're wearing shorts and skirts.
Sometimes, yeah.
Still, yeah. I heard it was to train them to just get used to I don't know, hardships. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm
really?
not really sure.
I haven't heard that.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
My students had these checkered pants they used to wear during the winter times. They were pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't know why. Even walking. So also with transportation for the students, they all walk. Almost all of them. Every single one of them, they walk.
Elementary
First
schools,
grader, they're walking. But this is interesting. So they change hats depending on what they're doing. So during recess, there's a white, half white and half red hat with the strap. And I'm actually not sure when they're all red or when they're all white, but I know they play the game of Onigoko with that. Red would be the devil or whatever, and if you're out, then you have to switch it or something. Yeah, and then they all
fold
have
it
a
inside out
separate
for the
yellow
different
hat.
colors.
Yeah, so it has
they all
two
have
colors.
A yellow.
Yeah.
Yes, half red and then half white, and they all have this separate yellow cap. Is different shaped and different texture that they have to wear while they're walking. So that's their walk home or walk to school hat.
Yes.
They're all just
also
together.
You must know that in elementary school in Japan, these students are not allowed to ride a bike to school due to safety reasons.
Yeah.
Most of the sidewalks are close to, car roads, and they don't want the student to be playing or whatever around and maybe roll onto traffic. So elementary school students are not allowed to ride bikes to the school. Also, there are some really weird rules in Japan for school stuff. Boys and girls are not allowed to color their hair. They have to trim their nails a certain way. They have to look a certain way. It's very strict, and if they don't, they'll call your parent. They'll even send you home. I had one student that was a little lighter hair, and I thought maybe they colored their hair, but apparently they got a lot of flack from the school in the beginning because they just had lighter hair, and most Japanese people have black hair, and this kid has brown hair, and they used to be like, no, have you colored your hair, and blah blah blah. So yeah, you're not allowed to color your. So Diane would not be allowed into a school if she was a student because of her hair color, because she's colored it. And Rob and I, when we first went, they're like, you have to shave. You look homeless if you don't shave. And I'm like, I guess I'll be homeless because I'm not shaving. And none of my schools had a problem with it. My company had a problem with it more than the schools had.
Yes.
So the schools were like, "You're a foreigner. It's fine. Foreigners have beards. That's what they think. And yeah, that's fine." And I had a longer beard at that time, if you guys remember those days. So no
You
one.
also can't pierce your ears until you're 18 years old.
Yes.
I didn't know that. I was beard. Mine were pierced
Even
when I was
makeup. You're not allowed to wear makeup
2
in
or
school.
3 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I know most elementary school students don't wear makeup, but even in high school, you're not allowed to wear makeup. And if you told that to like students in Sweden, they dry it. So, so it's not a rule here. But in Japan, no, like even phones and stuff should be put away before you enter the classroom. I know it's like rules like that also apply in like the Western world, but most people just put them in their pockets, you know. Then like, but no, in Japan, they're very strict, like super strict. They'll point at you or like poke your like pockets just to make sure you don't have your phone on you. And they even tell you as a teacher, like, don't have your phone on you. Put it in your bag. Put it somewhere far away. No distractions. Doesn't matter if the president is calling. You're not supposed to have your phone on you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The rules are very strict for sure, and I think part of it is because of there's like a unity in Japan where we must not. I don't want to say this in a negative way, but there's some positives and there are some negatives about it. It's about this unity, but it's also about not standing out. Because it's not a competition here in Japan. In America, for example, it's about being an individual. You want to be different. You want to stand out. That's how you're going to become successful and how people are going to remember you, right? It's kind of, we grow up with that a little bit. In Japan, though, if you stick out, you're leaving everyone else behind, and that's not
You're a problem.
you become a problem. It's that whole mentality of hammer down the nail that sticks out, right? They try to make everyone very united in that way, and not necessarily a hive mind, but kind of in some ways.
Yeah, I thought it was a Japanese saying, "The nail that sticks out gets hammered down," or something.
I believe
like
so.
You said.
Yeah, it is. It just sounds definitely sounds more negative than positive in my opinion. I don't know if it's taken that way when the Japanese use it, but from my background and my culture, it sounds negative. But that's just kind of how things are here. So, it's, what to expect.
That can also relate to... So I'm going to take it back to when you're in class, right? So if you're asking a question, no one might answer you in class or might raise their hand because no one wants to be the first, or no one wants to be incorrect, or because being incorrect is like shameful in Japan. I don't know why. So even if you're like, hey, try, like, they won't try if they don't want their peers to laugh at them.
Even if they know sometimes.
They might know, but they're just like, I don't want to be the one that knows, then, they'll stand out.
Yeah. So they'll approach you after class and be like, oh, by the way, the answer was this. And you're like, why'd you just say that in perfect English? What happened?
I had this one student, I had them for a whole year, and I had no idea they spoke fluent English. And after the year, like, we were leaving the area and or quitting the company, and the student came up to me and was like, hey, thank you very much for teaching like super good English. I was like, you do this to me now? All this time I needed so much help in class, and this is when you approach me.
This is what you've done.
Cool. But it was like, so there are some students that are very shy, and I think most Japanese people, maybe that's a generalization, are pretty shy. So yeah, they don't dislike you. That's not why they're not answering you. They just don't.
They feel like they shouldn't.
At the same time, though, this can be stressful for you as a teacher, just because through our training, we are taught that, at least comparing to America again, right? Elia, if this is different for you in Sweden, please let me know. But in America, for example, if a teacher is giving a lesson and students are, acting up and not learning, it's the student's fault. They're not paying attention in class. The teacher's not going to get reprimanded whatsoever. It's just kind of what that is, unless the teacher obviously did something wrong in the class, which maybe they did. But in Japan, if the students don't seem to be learning, that's your fault as a teacher, not theirs.
Yes.
It becomes your fault. So when you're like, what's the answer to this question? And then no one answers, in the back of your mind, you're like, this looks bad because no one's learning anything. No one's trying. How do I explain this to anybody where it makes sense? So there is that weird pressure to be like, please interact with me. Try. And then like Elia was saying, and what Diane was saying, they're afraid to because they don't want to stick out sometimes. Not everybody, but sometimes you might get the same two students raising their hand over and over again. Take it. You take it because it shows that someone is interested, right? So even though you don't want to call on the same people all the time because you want that variety, sometimes you just have to accept it. Maybe approach the other teachers and be like, hey, so maybe can you urge them to interact more in the class? You know?
Yeah.
Like maybe you can choose which student answers, because then they're forced to.
Yeah. You don't do it personally. Right? So you don't point people out. Don't do that. It's children will get,
especially calling by their names.
Yeah,
With
they'll
this
be like,
company
no.
we put in. With my next company, we have to call them by their names. I'll talk about that later. Anyway, I want to add to what Rob said. What was it?
The finger in the air. Okay.
That's a good pose for the thumbnail, by the way. I'm going to keep that. Anyway, go on. Elliot, it's your turn to post. No, okay, good. We got it.
Just kidding. So one of my Japanese partners, I actually really love her. She was pretty aggressive when it comes to the students, but not like physical, not screaming. It was just like, oh no, you have to speak. So I don't know if I was gonna ask you guys, did any of your classrooms have like a can and then popsicle sticks, the little wooden sticks with numbers on them, right? Or chopsticks.
Yeah.
And okay, so since me and her, we were like 50-50-ish, but she was really more of the student focus, and if she cared if people weren't participating or saying anything. So she's like, any volunteers? And she sees no one, then she just grabs a can and she's like, okay, 21, what? Like, it was so funny.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, I don't know. I mean, sometimes they'll have an answer, sometimes they won't, but that, I really enjoyed that one right there. I have good memories with that one.
And to clarify, every student has a number. So 21 doesn't mean row 21 or whatever. It means that specific person has to answer. Yeah. So they all have a number. Usually you don't be like, hey, 11, speak. No, it's just for the like just for the numbers, So usually they're like, oh, 11, which is it's a random name. Let's say Rob, for example. Okay, 11. Rob, you're the one supposed to speak, and then that child speaks.
Yeah. Don't be intimidating. Be like, it's your turn, number 3. Yeah. You don't want to do that.
Yeah. Also, I'm really bad with names. I really try, but I'm bad. So that trick is a pro tip right there. Use it. So ask how many students there are in every class, usually 30, 32, and write them on chopsticks. Buy these super cheap like chopsticks from Daiso and just write numbers on them, then keep it in your bag at all times, and just whenever you want someone to answer or you want to play the game with someone, you pull out the number, you're like, all right, 23, and that person comes up. I have no idea who 23 is, but I know that person's gonna come up because you asked them to, and they really do what the teacher tells them. Someone might be like, oh, do I really have to?
I got a lot like that.
And they drag their feet, but in the end, they're there, so use what you have.
When in doubt, do
partner,
that.
Sorry.
Go on.
Yeah. With this, my Japanese partner, when she just really she wanted the students to hurry and answer. So one time, I think she just not lazy, but the can was on the other side of the classroom, and no one answered me fast enough, like how's the weather or something like that. And so she looked at the board to see what the date was. Let's say, for example, February 8th. Okay, number 28. What?
Yep.
Wow, that was so funny.
Yep.
Yeah. Sometimes they do that. They
I think they have a
uh,
system for it too.
yeah.
Whatever
This
day it
person
is.
reads something,
Yeah,
or they
exactly.
volunteer to do something.
Yeah.
Today, the
Exactly.
13th. Okay, number 13,
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah,
You get the
yeah,
lunch,
exactly.
something like that.
Yeah, and they have like a system for it. Like if it's the 11th, the number 11 is in charge of the class for that day or something. I don't really remember
Yeah.
what it was exactly, but
Pretty cool.
it's
pretty
something
organized.
that, yeah, it's a pretty nice system. So I want to move on to events, school events. So every year you're gonna have events in school, and there's a lot of them, more than what I'm used to in Sweden, right? We also have sports day, but their sports day is on another level. Like they take it to the extreme. So they have dances, they have all these competitions, and they take it really seriously. And it's a lot of fun. If you ever get invited to these events, you don't always get invited because you don't go to that school a lot, but some schools really like you. So I had 2 schools that I really enjoyed going to and had a good connection with those schools. They invited me to all their events. And it was a lot of fun because usually it's your day off anyway. So if you want to, you can go. If you don't want to, it's up to you. And it's in the middle of the week, so you might as well go and have fun with the students. And they're super excited to see you there, and all the like teachers and like family members are also super excited to see you. You know, you're just there to support the students, and I just walk around with the students and talk to them, like cheer them on, you know. And it was a lot of fun. And they even allow you to participate in the teacher, like some teachers have races too, and you know, like arm wrestling competitions and stuff like that, and it was fun. So you guys did you guys go to those events too in your schools?
I had 4 schools, but I was definitely invited to. I think I was invited to 3 out of the 4, maybe. But what was hard for me is that 2 of my schools had it on the same day, same times and everything.
Yeah.
So what I did is for the first half, I went to one school, and then I left and drove to the second school for the second half of the event. So I spent half a day somewhere and half a day somewhere else.
That's pretty nice.
And yeah, because it was like one school invited me first technically, but then it was like my personal favorite school that was a smaller school that were just like, oh, can you please come? And I was like, well, I have to now, you know.
Yeah.
So sometimes,
especially if it's a smaller school, it's so cute.
yeah, for most of the time for sure. But it was very nice. I can't remember if I participated in any of the events because I'm getting kind of mixed up with other things too, just playing outside with them. The students would make me like race other teachers or play soccer with a teacher on one team and I'm on the other team, and they'd make us square off and stuff like that, and it gets really intense, but always in good spirits, right?
Of course. So mostly in good spirits. Let's keep it at that. Yeah.
Mostly. I mean, I was better, so they were jealous. You know, I'm just gonna throw that in. No.
Okay, Ron. Okay. How about you, Diane? Did you go to an event?
Out of my memory, I'm trying really hard to think, but I think at least one sports day, and they call that undokai, I think.
Undokai, yeah.
Undokai. I believe I went to one, and I went to that one with one of our past co-workers there in Yamaguchi, because she had my school the year before. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because she worked with a company a year more.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so when her and I went to the event, it was like we were celebrities or something, because all the kids and teachers were like, ah.
Yeah, they don't expect you to come.
They don't. They just start like, they stand up and they applaud when they see you walk onto the field. Like, it's crazy. Yeah.
Sometimes you really do feel like a celebrity here, or I mean, there. Here, there, whatever.
Here, there, whatever. Yeah.
They get like so much energy when you like cheer for them too. Like, it's insane. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I would recommend go to every event you can. You know, you're there to experience the country and the culture and everything, and the students are really happy to see you. So just go. So for example, one thing I did, which was very special, I was invited to participate or compete with other schools in tug of war. So, for example, the school I represented, which is really weird, competed against other schools I teach at, and Diane's schools and Rob's schools. So we all met there, and I'm just gonna say we did really well. We came in second, you know. I'm just saying. And that was all me, you know. No, I beat all your schools. I did that on purpose too, because there was no schools. There was one school, the one that won. They win every year. So basically, they train the whole year for this tug of war thing, and it's really serious. You know, the kids take it seriously. Right? No, it was one of the schools. Right. The lady you talked about, it was one of her schools. That one. And you know, when we were doing this tug of war, they went into this special position and they all knew what they were supposed to do. And my kids, they were just like, whoever was holding the rope was like really trying. And it was, you know, I felt really bad for my students because it was such opposites. The other school was so professional and we were like just doing our best. But it was fun. We had a lot of fun. They gave me a shirt to wear to represent the school, but it was way too small. It was like a XS, or I don't know what it was, so I had to wear it around my neck.
It turned into a bandana instead of a shirt. Yeah. I remember that. You just had it hanging around your neck.
Like, I'm not even gonna try to wear it. You know, like that's where I was at this point. And I remember when we did the first pull, right? They're like, all right, this school and that school, okay, we're up, right? So you're the anchor. Like I was at the one at the back, and I was holding on to pull. These kids take it seriously. I was like, this is gonna be fun. No. It's not fun. It's serious competition. It's if you don't win, you're a loser. That's basically what it is. And like the principal was there, and all the head teachers were there, and they were like, "All right, Elia Sensei, you have to do this for the school, for the culture, for mankind." I was like, "No, it's just a game. Let's have fun."
We're not landing on the moon right now. We're just trying to pull a rope. A little harder than they can. Like, what the heck?
They have official judges and official scoreboards and all the kinds of stuff. And
super fun.
It was a great day. And of course, the only school with a foreigner who was helping them compete was me. And everyone was, you know, all eyes on you, basically, every time. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. We came in second. All the students got medals and stuff from my school. I got a matcha drink. You know, just saying.
Thanks for your hard work. Thanks for carrying the team. Here's some matcha. You never had that before, right? You've been here for a full year. No, anyway, whatever.
Take this 100 yen matcha drink, which is not good at all.
I know that gambling is illegal in Japan, but if it was allowed, there would have been bets on that. You guarantee, like, they have the foreigner though. Put my money on that guy. Yeah.
True.
Like I could see the other teachers, like when we were competing,
sweating.
Like we would look at each other and we'd be like, "Oh, it's me versus you." The children don't do anything. Let's be honest.
No, they don't care.
They're just there.
It's for the adults. It's for the adults.
Yeah. Like one student isn't even pulling the rope. Just chilling, you know. And I was like, "Come on, let's pull." And I was like, "All right, when I say pull, you all pull." And they're like, "Okay." And we had this rhythm going, and I said pull, and all the students were like, "What are we supposed to do?" Like, we've been training. Like before this, we've been training for like weeks, right? I used to stay after school. I used to go during weekends to train with them. And when my other schools knew that I was competing against them, because I didn't tell them because I knew it'd be awkward.
Oh yeah.
I knew it was awkward. When I went to the other schools, you know, the next couple days when I went to those schools, they were like, "Oh, so you beat our school, huh?" One school was even like, "You're competing for us next year." I was like, "I'm not gonna be here, but okay."
Yeah, sure. I'm out.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. So just be in all the events you can. You know, just don't be afraid to join in.
Yeah, and I was gonna mention that was the second event thing I went to, but we were all there.
Yeah.
4 of us at the time, right? All 4 of us were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We witnessed it.
And that was the time when I saw 3 out of 4 of my schools there, and I was like, wait a minute, I need to go to all of them. But there was one school that the coach for that one freaking grabbed me like this and was like, cheer, pretty much. This is your class. I'm like, yeah,
Yep.
those are my classes too. He's trying to make me stay. I'm like, oh yay, but I'm gonna visit all the classes.
hmm
Cute.
I was so nervous when I was meeting my other school. Like I was like, oh, like I don't want to embarrass them, and we did embarrass them. We won in like the first 15 seconds or something, and I could see the students on the other side looking at me with regret and hate. I was like, oh no, I felt so bad.
Remember that there's different kinds, different companies, English companies in Japan.
Yeah.
Like, and I've worked for so far 3, and I'm not including Ready for now. First one ALT, and then the next one, they're both kind of. The second one was an Eikaiwa, and then third one is an Eikaiwa, not really, but for children. So I worked with elementary schools. 3rd to 6th grade, the first year, the first teaching job. The second one, it was like completely different. So from children to older adults, and it was just a completely different environment. Also a good experience. When it was a good experience, and then I went back to children, but even younger children. But these children knew a lot more English than the past older children I worked with. So yeah, I switched to completely different kinds of teaching jobs. So yeah, don't be bummed by anything negative we said. Not like negative, but like any non-happy experience.
Yeah, there's a lot of different experiences based on whatever company you work for or so on. So
do your research.
There's no
First
reason to feel
guidance
like you're
part.
stuck.
no, not at all. Not at all. It's
Yeah.
easy to
Yeah.
change company. Don't feel like, oh, I'm stuck with this company.
Yeah.
No,
Or I
you're
wanna
not
go
stuck.
back because you got a bad experience. No, just
Yeah.
switch something completely different.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that in a future podcast, culture and stuff, and schools and etc. So stay tuned for that. That's it for today's podcast. If you do have any questions or any suggestions or whatever you want us to talk about, please leave it in the comments below. Next time we're gonna have some really interesting topics. But this concludes the how to become a teacher part of this podcast. Check out our Instagram or our other social media stuff. Thank you so much for listening in or watching. We'll catch you next time. This was Ready.
Bye.
Thank you.